I've spent my career helping leaders figure out how to be better leaders. And what I tell them, it's always in the story you tell. Not the story you make up, but the story that you are leading. And this is one of Joel's great gifts. He started off doing fabulous ad campaigns for the NBA and Major League Baseball, and then he found a bigger game, and that was the ocean. So it's great to have you here, and I'll come up and we'll do Q&A when you're done.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Really appreciate it, Dane. Thank you and good morning, and welcome everyone to Brave New Ocean. I want to say thank you to the Ocean Exchange and MTS, and also EarthX for taking a really bold stance on the oceans and recognizing that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity ahead of us right now. And as Dane said, I'm going to share with you some stories and some examples of the work of my organization, the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, in helping to catalyze the opportunities of the ocean enterprise. But I guess in a sense, in the spirit of storytelling, let me just start with a story. So I was last year in the Florida Keys, and I was driving down. If you've been in the Keys, there's this kind of one long highway all the way down to Key West from Key Biscayne. And I kept noticing as I was driving these placards on the side, this side of the road, this side of the road. Coral Reef Foundation, Reef Renewal Foundation, Moat Marine Lab, Boy Scouts of America, Reef Foundation. And I just kept thinking to myself, wow, I don't think I've ever been in a place that had such a concentration of different nonprofit organizations working on reefs all kind of across the street from each other as you drove down the street. And I kept thinking, wow, is there power, is there scale here? How is the independence of these different organizations contributing to the larger issues that coral reefs have in the Florida Keys? And I then went to a laboratory where I encountered these long trays of pieces of coral hanging on rope in salinated water. And I was holding these little coral babies, because that's what they were, and I was being told that we were doing genetic modification, basically selective breeding of these corals to find more heat-resistant corals. And in fact, each one of these different organizations had all these little mini aquariums, and they were all doing their own versions of that testing. And I thought, that is incredible. That is a powerful testament to both the opportunity that you could have such diversity of approaches, but also such passion and dedication to creating a more healthy ocean. And then later on that summer, we experienced one of the toughest marine heat waves in the history of the United States. And the light bulb went off. You know, you've got to be in it, you've got to be there, you've got to know the ecosystem to understand and anticipate what the problems are. And the ocean enterprise is exactly that. As has been shared, it is really a system that needs an ongoing living laboratory to be successful. And as the CEO of the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, I want to talk to you about your public waters, America's national marine sanctuaries, as that living laboratory. So 50 years ago, Congress basically got together and created the National Marine Sanctuary System to protect America's most treasured waters. These are kelp forests off the Monterey coast, corals off the Florida Keys, deep sea canyons. And the mission of the foundation that I work at is to ensure that Americans understand the impact and relevance of these places, that they have the opportunity to experience them in the next generation, and that we work to pull out solutions about how to create a healthier sanctuary or a healthier ocean or Great Lakes, and also a healthier coastal community that relies on these incredible places. So this here is Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and it's a special place in Alpena, Michigan, which is on the Upper Peninsula. And it's a National Marine Sanctuary on Lake Huron, and it has over 100 shipwrecks sitting on in this crystal clear water. And as you can see, people from all over the country and all of the world really come to visit the historic preservation projects there. That's exciting. That's natural history. That's American maritime history. It's our history. But what's more exciting to me is that these places are also beacons for scientific research, public-private partnerships, and community revitalization. Through NOAA's investment in the creation of the Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center, this little town of Alpena, which has about 10,000 residents, every year experiences 100,000 visitors. And those visitors are coming and they're going into coffee shops and they're doing dive tours, they're doing research programs, they're visiting heritage festivals, and there's even a Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary cinema. Why? Thunder Bay is a hub for scientific research. NOAA's Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory and the sanctuary partners that work there are monitoring changes in freshwater acidity and changes in the chemistry of the Great Lakes. And all of this is important data that goes into the kind of policy making that the Great Lakes needs to enable to support our maritime domain awareness in the Great Lakes. And Thunder Bay shows what happens when you can take a marine protected area, and it's not just a bunch of lines on a map, but really think about using it as a launch pad for community pride and renewal, ecosystem innovation. And there's other places, whoops, the wrong direction. There are other places that have similar stories in the 18 national marine sanctuaries and 645,000 square miles of ocean and Great Lakes that are part of that system. So in the Gulf of America, which is not too far from here, Flower Garden Bank's National Marine Sanctuary is off the coast of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. It's about 380 miles away, and it's providing an incredible story of conservation and energy development in a coexistence type of way, using science as a bridge. So there are over 3,500 oil platforms in the Gulf. 91% of them are active, and so you have this sanctuary sitting amidst this dense oil and gas infrastructure, but it's working. The sanctuary has partnered with the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, NOAA, and the state, and including many private firms to monitor the reef health, to conduct coral studies, to innovate in dual-use ocean infrastructure. And the flower gardens are just this enormous underwater sea corals that are sitting on sea mountains, and they're just close enough to the surface for the sunlight to come down and to create these incredible coral gardens on the top of the mountains, but they're deep enough to keep them protected against marine heat waves, something we're seeing a lot more of. Now, through long-term collaboration between the federal government and sort of private companies and energy companies, the sanctuary has become this model of applied ocean cooperative management. This is H13A 389A. It is a once active oil platform, and it produced oil within the boundaries of the sanctuaries up to 2012. When it was no longer viable, working together, they basically removed the entire top of the platform and then kept the legs and preserved it as an artificial reef, which is now this incredible research station for marine life and ocean communities. And this here is my buddy, Captain Shane Cottrell. The fact of the matter is local communities truly value this multiple use nature of the sanctuaries. And Captain Shane Cottrell, who is both a recreational fishing guide and a commercial fishing guide, he relies on the array of sensors that NOAA uses and these other partners are using to essentially, safeguard his livelihood. And this is something that we really need to think about when we talk about the ocean enterprise. It is, of course, these institutions, public, private, academic, but at the center of it, what are we talking about? We're talking about people. We're talking about people. And they are, in a sense, the end beneficiaries of the work that many of these technology companies are doing on this effort. Today, Flower Garden Banks supports this incredible coalition of university-led research, offshore restoration training, environmental monitoring systems. Some of it's funded by the remediation funds from the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, which was 15 years ago. And it's a model, again, of how sanctuaries can facilitate responsible enterprise without compromising some of the core protections that sanctuaries provide. And it's a reminder of the balance that is possible when science leads the way. Now, earlier you heard about the size of the opportunity in terms of the ocean enterprise, but just taking a quick step back, the marine economy overall is booming. It's booming. 2% of GDP, millions of jobs are part of this infrastructure. But what's exciting is the acceleration. The marine economy is growing 2 times as fast as the overall economy. And it's and the reason why is being fueled by this exploration, this innovation, and this cooperation between communities. Sanctuaries are uniquely positioned to fuel this growth. We have over 700 public and private partners. We're offering a safe, collaborative environment, new tools to train the ocean workforce of the future, new systems, and they're pioneering breakthrough technologies like AI and robotics and advanced sensors. So this is a little map of sanctuary sound, one of the other programs in our system. And it's a partnership between NOAA and the Navy. And what we're doing is we are looking at one of the greatest currencies of the oceans, which is sound. And we are using all different types of sensors and arrays to figure out how this currency is used between the ocean life, the marine life, also the industry that uses the ocean, so vessels, navigating shipping lanes, and then scientists overall can use these tools to monitor the health of the entire ecosystem. Through our program, we have been able to build some incredible tools like this AI-enhanced acoustic sensor through an AUV. This is the Slocum glider. It just does its thing. It sort of goes around the ocean, and it just absorbs and picks up all that sound. And we've actually collected millions of hours of sound. And then we're using AI and machine learning to interpret that sound to give us important data to impact how we identify migratory whale activity. We can pinpoint noisy industrial activity, and it helps us to guide many maritime decisions. This is the ocean enterprise at work, where conservation, national security align, where new technologies can be deployed and blue innovation can drive local economic growth. But listen, the full potential of places like sanctuaries and other marine protected areas won't be realized unless we address the barriers that are holding them back. Across the system, we've got outdated infrastructure, we have limited real-time data capacity, it's hindering our response to impacts like changing conditions in the ocean, severe storms, sea level rise, acidification. The data collection is slow, it's not unified, and it's often tucked away in these databases that are inaccessible. And when we talk about the ocean enterprise, we're talking about liberating this data. We're talking about making it accessible to the public. And the beautiful thing about sanctuaries is this is your public lands and waters. These are your public waters. We are liberating the data that Americans really can benefit from, but also have a stake in. Many sanctuaries face this delay in innovation, not because of a lack of ideas. I know with Ocean Exchange, that's, those powerful ideas manifest every single day, and we know it's just a small part of the full breadth of the opportunity. There are some 10 million Americans that live in adjacent counties to sanctuaries. 40 million Americans, as you know, live on America's coasts, and sanctuaries remain chronically underfunded. But there's opportunity. There's opportunity for both federal investment, public and private investment, and it's massive. The good news is sanctuaries are already solving problems, and I want to share just a few more examples of what that looks like. So if you've been to the Florida Keys, which we just talked about a little bit earlier, you've snorkeled there, you've dived there, you put your foot in the water, you went on a boat, maybe you took the family there on vacation, you have been in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. The Keys are defined by their iconic coral reefs, which I've talked to you about, but sadly, over 90% of the coral cover has been lost due to changing ocean conditions. As I talked to you earlier, the 2023 marine heat wave was devastating to millions of marine life and marine species, and also, of course, naturally, it really impacted the local community. It was an interesting experience watching my staff who work in the Florida Keys and in some of these different sanctuaries respond, watching their work right in front of their eyes transform. So my staff were in the waters planting those baby corals I talked about. Imagine having to then dive it during a marine heat wave and watching it just bleach out, turn white, right? The disaster we all heard about in the Great Barrier Reef of the ongoing coral bleaching had arrived here in the United States. And I got calls from some of my staff in tears as they watched years of work vanish. The waters in the corals, around the corals in the Keys was as hot as a hot tub. 20 feet down. So when you think about all of those different coral restoration organizations working, the preparation, the passion and the dedication. What's wonderful about sanctuaries is I also get to tell, even though that there are these terrible things happening, there are people who are prepared with solutions in sanctuaries. And the fact of the matter is, these coral reefs are just absolutely critical to the state of Florida. They prevent some $675 million of damage from hurricanes every year. So despite these challenges, sanctuaries can be a place where we use the opportunity to restore both the sense of place and develop a kind of blue economy revival here. We have a great program called Mission Iconic Reefs in partnership with NOAA, where we're deploying automatic information system buoys to transmit data and nearshore information to vessels. As I explained, we're doing genetic coral banking. We're also doing selective breeding, and we're doing 3D reef mapping so we can establish new restoration zones. And all of this is fueled by the ocean enterprise. So let's not forget that, of course, people can be and should be at the heart of this effort. The Florida Keys provides, as I said, an astonishing amount of support to the state, $4.4 billion, thousands of jobs. I'm particularly proud of a program that we fund called Goal Clean Seas, which brings people into the fight. What we do is we work with Blue Star dive operators, and we train them to train tourists. And we bring tourists into the process. They dive. They remove marine debris. Over the last 5 years, we've removed 100,000 pounds of marine debris. And what we're looking for is for the ocean enterprise to begin to provide us with the solutions on how to recycle that material, how to make use of it, and then how to take the citizens' science that we're working on and build out more data and observation platforms to go back into fueling our knowledge and understanding of how to protect this environment. We're working with Hilton, the global hotel company, right now on this vital work to expand it to other sanctuaries. So look, the work is difficult, it's gritty, it's not easy to do, but I want you to see that it is deeply, deeply hopeful. We really must remember to hold the line, though, when it comes to America's marine protected areas. Our public waters, your public waters. Any use of the sanctuaries in maritime enterprise, it must enhance, not weaken their mission to conserve and protect these special places. All of these sites have intrinsic value in their own right, and carefully managed, they are America's innovation zones. They are not industrial zones. And for some cultures, they're even sacred places of stewardship and worship. For most of us, they're just a public commons where cutting-edge science can benefit all of us, as long as we don't take shortcuts for unchecked development. So I want to return, as I close, to Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary one more time to talk to you about a last example here of the opportunity of ocean enterprise. And again, as you can see, I'm trying to provide you the context of how this impacts people and communities and the dual nature opportunity ahead of us. One of the most exciting examples of the enterprise in the sanctuary is happening right now in Thunder Bay, in partnership between the Department of Defense and NOAA, as well as private technology companies. Every year in Thunder Bay, we help to support an initiative called Silent Swarm. And what we're doing is we're using the sanctuary's waters as a real-world test bed for autonomous underwater vehicles and surface vehicles that are used in cyber defense. These advanced systems are being developed to strengthen the national defense through advanced electromagnetic spectrum operations. And this is really kind of wonky stuff, but it's really exciting to know that our national marine sanctuaries, our protected areas, can help contribute to the national defense in terms of this type of initiative. Last year was the biggest event in the history of Silent Swarm. They had over 500 people, including dozens of technology companies and partners on site in Alpena, again, boosting that local economy, but also bringing members from all of the armed forces. Captain Robert Ice Gamberg of the Naval Surface Warfare Center, who leads the effort, said, "We come back to Alpena because the partnership has been absolutely fabulous, and also, frankly, we are in love with the community." So listen, we really do not need to choose between economic growth and opportunity and ocean health, Great Lakes health. In sanctuaries, we have dozens of examples about how we are already doing both. We have the tools, the technologies, the test beds, these living laboratories. A little different than, say, what you can achieve in, say, Yellowstone. And, we have the opportunity ahead of us to turn the ocean challenges in front of us into economic opportunity. So it's time. It's time to invest in the places, the tools, the ocean enterprise that can be used to protect our future and power our economy. Let's back those enterprises while we're solving ocean problems, and as you can see, we're lifting up coastal communities along the way. Let's build a maritime future that is bold, balanced, smart, sustainable. We've already started in America's national marine sanctuaries, your public waters, and I hope you'll join us. So thank you very much.
Joel, thanks. That was great. Questions? Joel, how do we get more people involved in this? I love the public.
How do we get more people involved? Look, you're going to hear over the next 2 days a number of very, very interesting conversations in the panels that are going to provide us with different examples of why we should get involved, but also how we're already doing that and building a pipeline for the marine workforce of the future. As you may know, and probably many folks in this room know, we've had an ongoing shortage of maritime workforce. These are technicians, these are scientists, and the fact of the matter is there's a lot of opportunity now to build out workforce development programs in collaboration with local universities, colleges, and recognizing that, the type of opportunities at all different levels. You don't necessarily need a degree to be a part of this ocean enterprise revolution that we're going through. And you're going to hear some interesting examples of that in some of the panels.
That's great. We had a question back there.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate your talk. I'm Larry McKinney. I'm a former chair of the Flower Gardens National Marine Sanctuary Advisory Committee, and I appreciate what you're trying to do. But my question is, in light of the situation we're dealing with, I know my sanctuary has already lost staff because of changes, and I hope that's all that it is. But in the situation that's very uncertain, where NOAA might even exist, how are you maneuvering and dealing with that and trying to move forward within that uncertainty, which I know is a tremendous challenge for what you're trying to do. But I appreciate all that you do and are doing for those sanctuaries. I believe everything you say, but
Absolutely.
I'm pretty concerned right now about that. Thank you.
Well, listen, let's not ignore the elephant in the room. We're going through a great period of uncertainty, a great period of transformation and change. No doubt about it. The future is a little unclear. What I challenge all of us to do, and what I've challenged my staff at the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation to do, is to see it as an opportunity. We are going to have to kind of reinvent and reorganize, rethink what our purpose is. Now, we're fortunate. We're grounded in the 50-year-old National Marine Sanctuaries Act, a piece of legislation that helps us to create these places and protect them. But what's really critical in order to be able to do that is to build the broadest coalition of partners and supporters to help make these places, to make our collective work relevant to all Americans. And so we have, for example, a caucus in the House that has two co-chairs, a Republican and a Democrat, and we're very proud to say we've just got Representative Jack Bergman from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, home of Thunder Bay, which I've been talking about, to be our Republican co-chair. The Oceans Caucus, which is a separate caucus, it has a similar, both a Republican and Democratic co-chair. But what's critical is that they're providing guidance and leadership on the Hill that is reflective of what's happening in the communities. And hence, when I focus on a place like Alpena and Thunder Bay, and I tell the story of not leaving behind people, but putting people at the center of the enterprise that's going to create these incredible technologies, that's going to build the supply chains, that's going to power these incredible technologies and companies that you all are working on. And we think about how we can distribute some of that benefit to the local communities, then we get community support. Sanctuaries are in there's 18 sanctuaries, and there are many different states with many different backgrounds and coastal communities. They have a real diversity to them, and I think there's strength there. Now, in the short term, I think what you're going to be hearing from the different panels and from the different speakers is a lot of different strategies on how to survive this moment and thrive from it. And at the center of that, the increase in public and private partnerships is critical. Asking ourselves tough questions. How can we remove barriers to investment? How can we be more relevant to investors? How can we de-risk this opportunity? That's going to present new pipelines and new opportunities as we go through these changes.
There's so much to do. I want to bring up something that you and I were talking about earlier. I don't know how many of you saw this in the news. Last week it was announced that the NASA's James Webb Space Telescope detected a planet 124 light years away in which they are seeing a molecule which is only associated with biological processes. It's the dimethyl sulfide.
Dimethyl sulfide, yeah.
They're trying to see if that's really true. If it is true that they found this, it only occurs in the breakdown of phytoplankton in oceans. And it would be the first ever discovery of an ocean on another planet. That's how rare our ocean is. And that's how important the work we're doing.